I'm Mark Tilley from Dirt Bike Magazine, and today we're getting our first chance to ride the 2024 KX450X. Now that X stands for cross-country or off-road model. This bike is all brand new from the ground up, just like the motocross model. And if you're familiar with the motocross model, you're familiar with the platform of this motorcycle. There is some differences with an 18-inch rear wheel. The mapping is the same. Suspension valving is a little bit softer on both ends. It's got AT81 tires, but other than that, pretty much identical to the motocross model. That motocross model got a ground up rebuild just like this model did. It's got the new mapping system with the RIDEOLOGY map on your smartphone. It's got Brembo brakes, ODI grips, different exhaust, different frame. About the only thing that is the same on this motorcycle in general is the wheels will fit your last year's motorcycle. There is other stuff that will fit. We're being a little bit crazy on that one. Some people are saying that this thing is slow. I don't think that it's slow. It's a 450, so it's got more power than 95% of the people can handle. It's just got a different delivery. It maybe has a delivery that's a little softer. For off-road, sometimes that's a little bit better because you're on the bike for a lot longer. You don't want that hit. If we don't like it, we can change it really quick with the RIDEOLOGY app. It's got no tool access, brand new airbox that you can basically just pop the filter out. It's a flat filter now. Pop a couple clips off, that thing pops out, put a brand new one in, pop it back in, and keep going without any tools needed. So it's nice to see that Kawasaki has done some of their homework and listened to their consumer. It has some stuff missing for an off-road bike, and we always wonder why. It used to have a skid plate. It doesn't have a skid plate anymore. It's now an option, an aftermarket option for Kawasaki. It doesn't have handguards, which that makes kind of no sense to us. It's an off-road bike. That's the first thing we do for an off-road bike is put on handguards so we're not hitting our hands on stuff. It's not grabbing the front brake. It's not grabbing the clutch. And then it doesn't have a larger tank like some of the other manufacturers on their cross-country models will have a larger tank. This has the same exact tank as the motocross model. So that's a general overview of the motorcycle. We're gonna stop talking. We're gonna go start riding and see what we think of this thing. So we just got done with our first day of hitting the trails with the 2024 KX450X. This bike compared to last generation is definitely a lot quieter, which is a good thing. Doesn't have that raspy sound in the pipe anymore. Off-road, you could definitely tell the strength of that front Brembo brake. It works really, really well off-road. And sometimes too good, because when you hit the front brake on a branch without handguards, we did hit it grabbing the clutch in places and grabbing the brake in places, and it can send you over the bars really easy, especially with that Brembo front brake. Grips, it sounds like a really small thing, but the grips are way better than they were before. Thank you to Kawasaki for doing that. Power-wise, this bike, last year's model on tight technical trails like what you're seeing in the video, I would find myself in between second and third gear. They changed it to a 52 3-inch sprocket from a 51 this year, and now I can ride more in second gear when I want, and because this bike revs out a little bit more, I can rev it out a little bit more and keep it to where I would have to shift up before, and you don't have to do that now. This bike is not slow. It's a different power delivery, but it's by no means slow. It's more power than most people can handle off-road. It has a really mellow delivery, and it just kind of builds power through. It does rev way farther than last year's motorcycle. We are going to test some other stuff when it comes to, you know, pipes. We have an FMF slip-on and a Pro Circuit slip-on. We might open up the air box a little bit just to kind of see, but for me personally, it's got all the power I want. It does work better on tight technical trails than the previous generation. I think that it does lose a little bit of stability on top on really high speed trails, and you can see that in this video. We did do both, but I think that the guys back east, I know that Baylor is changing to a KX for his program this year. I think that those guys are going to like this bike better than the previous platform, because it is a little bit quicker turning. They will, naturally being at a professional level, they'll probably want a little bit more power. The RIDEOLOGY map is already connected to it, so we're gonna keep testing and keep doing some more stuff, but overall, this bike is a fun bike to ride. They didn't mess anything up. Suspension-wise too, a lot of people are saying that it's a lot softer than the motocross model. I don't know if it's a lot softer. I think it's more progressive. It does handle those little bumps a little bit better than what the motocross model does, and then it goes deeper in the stroke. So if that's what we're calling soft in general, then yeah, the bike is soft. You can go stiffer with it initially, like maybe more compression or whatever, but overall it's just a more progressive feel suspension wise than what the motocross model is. Naturally, if you're going to race this thing in West Coast off-road or back east, you're gonna have the suspension done. So it's gonna be set up to you. You're probably gonna put a bigger tank on it, make it to where, you know, you can adjust the bar positioning forward or back. Me personally, I'm going to put a big tank on it, have my suspension done, put a stabilizer on it, and go to the races. It's a great motorcycle. Maybe throw an exhaust on there just for a little bit of extra oomph. The one thing that I found myself doing, and it's on the left-hand side, that big button that has traction control and turns it off, and you have different mapping stuff. I think they need to move those buttons around a little bit. I think the red button to kill it needs to be closer to the grip, because I kept pushing the traction control. It wouldn't turn the bike off naturally, and then I had to look down and look at it. So personally, I'm not a huge fan of that. If that's one of the things you got to complain about, yeah, you got a pretty good motorcycle underneath you. The other thing that we hadn't talked about is there is going to be optional engine hangers on this bike, and that you could tell on the side that there's different bolt holes and stuff like that. Kawasaki doesn't have them as of yet, but as soon as those come in, we're gonna be testing those and seeing how that affects the bike, because there is a few aftermarket companies that we've tried that made a big difference. It made it to where it was a little bit plusher, a little bit easier to get in those inside corners. So that's gonna be interesting, but there is those little things that we wish that Kawasaki would do, and maybe they will. Maybe, you never know. There might be some handguards and a skid plate and maybe a bigger tank for next year. But this is what we got now, and it's a good motorcycle. It's a good foundation to start with, and we can't wait to build on it. So if you got a little bit more time on your hands and you want to check out some other videos that we've done, hit those video thumbnails and don't forget to subscribe, because we got a lot of unique motorcycles coming up. We got a Kawasaki 250, we got a BRC 500 fuel injected Husky. The other half of our staff is back east testing some brand new Yamahas. So don't forget to hit that subscribe button. If you want to stay up to date on all the latest off-road and moto industry news, head over to dirtbikemagazine.com.